And while you're neglecting yourself, and very openly to the rest of the world, you have no right, none whatsoever, in ever asking or telling someone or demanding for you to be able to care for their possessions or their family, be it a dog or a child, their parent. Welcome to the Bear Perspective. I'm Bear Malik. I'm a student of life and I study psychology. I want to share with you some lessons and perspectives that I wish I could have learned a lot sooner in life. Imagine you want to go to the swimming pool. You head there and you arrive, and while you're just before you go into the changing room, you see someone else come in and they're talking to the staff and they tell them, I can't swim today for any reason. They've just had surgery, their leg hurts, they twisted their ankle. And you think nothing of it. And you go in, get changed into your bathing suit, and you head out to the pool. Now, just before you go into the pool, you remember you're not a very strong swimmer. But you want to go into the pool, it's a nice hot day, whatever. And then you just, before you dip your toe in the water, you glance around to see if there's actually a lifeguard on duty. There is. You happen to see that person from earlier who said that they can't swim. How much confidence do you have about them being able to come and save you if something goes wrong, if you're not a strong swimmer? Let me give you another example. Let's say you've decided you wanted to get fit. You go to the gym and you pick up a bunch of business cards for personal trainers because you think you need some guidance. You want to lose some weight, you want to get a bit stronger, whatever. You call a bunch of them up and you pick one. He goes, okay, I'll meet you at the gym on Monday afternoon. You go into the gym and you meet this personal trainer that bit scruffy, quite overweight, hasn't shaved in a few days, and when you step closer, smells a little. And you're like, I want to lose weight, and this guy's not entirely looking after himself. Is it a great idea to hire this guy to train me? Is he qualified? It gets you to question all these things. One more and I'll move on. You have a friend who's a self-professed mechanic. You know he tinkers a lot. You know he's in his garage all the time, toying around with his car. But at the same time, you know that he's not been able to get that car to start in years. And he's always struggling to the point that he's kind of given up on the car. He ends up walking to work. He ends up not being able to drive anywhere. He can't commute. Although he is a mechanic, he doesn't really care for his car so much. To the point that the doors are almost hanging off. There's no wing mirrors anymore. You're pretty sure the indicators don't work. And then you suddenly realize that, oh, your car has a problem. How confident would you be in reaching out to that mechanic friend of yours who barely looks after his own car? Now let me bring this down to people. People get a cough out of nowhere and they would let it pass, kind of ignore it. They won't necessarily go to the doctor. They won't even call the doctor to say, hey, I've had this cough for a couple of weeks now. Before they know it, that cough has exasperated into something serious. Or they've got a headache or a migraine. Or they're constantly dehydrated. They neglect themselves. They don't drink enough water. They don't take their vitamins. They barely eat on time. They know they should be sleeping for 8-9 hours a night, but stay up to 1-2 o'clock in the morning for a 6 a.m. start to go to work, and then complain that they're constantly tired. And you've got even down to patients who have gone to the doctor. They get prescribed medication that could be antibiotics, it could be sometimes painkillers, sometimes blood pressure medication, all sorts. And what they would say in the medical industry is that patient is non-compliant. They don't take those meds on time or as prescribed. And for some reason, that comes across as self-sacrifice to that person. It's not self-sacrifice, it's neglect, frankly. They won't take their blood pressure medications. They won't take some of the painkillers. They won't take the medication they know will alleviate their pain or suffering for whatever reason. They won't take it because other things will take priority. Now, those other things could be a whole host of reasons. Family, friends, work, time, anything. But they won't take the meds. But here's the funny thing. Let's start off with something simple like a house plant. If you care for plants, you're going to walk by the plant once every day, once every couple of days, depending on where you've put the plant, and you suddenly notice it's wilting or its leaves are going brown. And you'll stop in your tracks and you'll go and fill a glass of water, bring it over and nurse that plant back to health because you've spotted one leaf going slightly brown. You have pets. If you have a cat or a dog and they suddenly begin limping, people will take their day off from work to call the vet and take the pet to the vet to find out it's maybe a pulled muscle. Or in some cases, it's a bit more serious. But they won't let a minute pass by, and they will care for their pet. They will ensure that it gets the help that it needs at a moment's notice. What about strangers on the street? You see someone trip over and fall. Your instinct is to run to them to help them, to say, hey, are you okay? Is everything okay? You grab their hand, help them up to their feet, and check in, let them carry on with their day. Occasionally you'll go somewhere and you'll hold a door open for an absolute stranger because you see that they've got a pram with a child in it. Because you can immediately tell that they will struggle through that door. So you're going to hold it open for them, allow them through, shoot them a smile. Off you go with the rest of the day. Now, what about children? If you've got kids, or if you know any parents, you'll know the entire day revolves around the child. From getting up in the morning to getting them dressed to get them to school, and then navigate school, get back in time after work to go pick them up from school, get them back home, get them fed, and then all of a sudden they've got a stomach ache, and okay, what do we need to do with the stomach ache? Your head hurts, you've got a fever, get them some paracetamol or Calpol or something. You make sure they're eating the right things, or the parents make sure they're eating the right things. They don't have too much sugar, not too many sugary drinks. They don't get hyper before bed. Give them the odd vitamin jelly baby. So we can clearly look after other people, but we very rarely look after ourselves. Now, my question being, why would someone entrust you to care for their plants if they went on holiday, if they went away for a weekend? If you can't water yourself, if you can't remember to drink just water, and you're constantly dehydrated, get dehydration headaches, you feel unwell most of the time, and a lot of it could be down to the fact that you just don't drink enough water. Why would someone entrust you with their houseplant, knowing that you forget to drink your own water? Dogs, or cats, or pets. Why would someone trust you to care for their dog when you forget to feed yourself, or you prioritize work and other things over your own nourishment? What person in their right mind would allow their family member, in most cases, their pet, why would they allow their care to be under your control, knowing that you have not fed yourself correctly, you don't sleep enough, you don't stay at home enough, or you fail to take care of yourself, and on occasion you've injured yourself and not tended to the injury? Take it a step further. Why on earth would someone allow their children near you, knowing that you dismiss your own cuts and grazes? Knowing that on the slightest sign of difficulty, you end up panicking and you cannot handle stressful situations. Why would someone entrust you with their child? Now let's go back to the swimming pool for a moment. Let's say you took your child to the swimming pool and you heard that lifeguard who can't swim, and you know your child isn't a strong swimmer, or they're just learning to swim for the first time, and although you're there, why would you let your child swim in a pool where the lifeguard can't swim? Because you have no faith in their ability to come and save your child. Now, why would someone bring a car to a mechanic who can't get his own car running? There's no rhyme or reason to it. You would take it to someone that you feel is competent. And finally, with the personal trainer, why would you hire a personal trainer who doesn't look after themselves? Why would you listen to their advice, and why would you take any of their criticism when they have all these flaws themselves? So, until you can show that you look after yourself, you have no right in asking or even offering yourself to care for another person's prized possession, be it their child, their pet, their plant, their car. So how do you look after yourself? Treat yourself like you would your pet. Treat yourself like you would your plant. Treat yourself like you would your child or the absolute stranger on the street. The same instincts that make you want to help them, to ensure that they see a doctor, to ensure that they get to school on time, to ensure that they can walk through a door without struggle. Treat yourself as you would those other people. What you're doing is not self-sacrifice. What you're doing is not grinding through it. What you're doing is neglecting yourself. And while you're neglecting yourself, and very openly to the rest of the world, you have no right, none whatsoever, in ever asking or telling someone or demanding for you to be able to care for their possessions or their family, be it a dog or a child, their parent. So until you can show that you can go to bed on time and wake up on time, full of energy, until you can show that you constantly feed and water yourself reliably, until you can show that you can run your car without many issues reliably, and until the world can see that, and you're not doing it for the world, you're doing it for yourself, until you become that person that people entrust and become the person that people can come to when they need help, with enough faith within themselves to know that this person cares for themselves and they will care for what is mine with as much love, care, and attention. You want to exude responsibility, not just offer it blindly. Because in that case, it would be the blind leading the blind. Someone asks you for help when they cannot do something themselves. They are blind. And if you cannot do the same thing that they are seeking, you are also blind. So why would you offer to care for their child? Why would you offer to fix their car? Why would you offer to care for their plants while they are away? Because you have not struggled, learned, and made easy what was hard. And here's the thing, challenging things are hard. But with every challenge, there is something on the other side. And although we avoid challenges, or we try to make those challenges easier by either ignoring them or cheating our way through them, the challenge itself is the journey that you need to go on to get the treasure on the other side. I think the way Jordan Peterson puts it, it's the dragon that you must fight, and the dragon is always guarding the treasure. Whereas I've always looked at it as a boxing match. I'm a big Rocky fan, and the way I've always put it is that every challenge is a boxing match, and the winner of the boxing match is the one who takes home the purse. And that's the treasure. That's the treasure you want to take home. That's the challenging thing is in your path for the treasure that you want to take home. If you want to be able to be in a relationship with someone who already has children, you need to be able to display yourself as someone who can care for themselves and can potentially then help care for your future partner's children. If you want to inherit your father's car, you need to be able to show your father that you can care for your own and you know how to maintain your own car, so that one day when it is time for you to inherit the car, he has all faith that you will be able to care for it as he cared for it. And maybe it's not a car. Maybe it's an heirloom. Maybe it's a job that you're seeking. If you're at work and you're constantly neglecting your own duties at work, why would anyone give you more responsibility where you've clearly displayed that you're unable to deal with the stresses of your current duties? If you can do your duties and your work, whatever your job is, to a degree where you are incredibly competent, then you can be considered for another promotion. So this is why you want to look after yourself. This is why you want to learn to look after yourself, because looking after yourself gives you the ability to be trustworthy for someone else's to take on someone else's responsibilities. Now, if you don't want to take on anyone else's responsibilities, then crack on. Carry on living the way you're living right now. But don't you dare ever ask anyone or tell anyone that I will look after your child for you on this day. Or because you have no right to do so, because if you can't look after yourself, you can't look after someone's child. You can't look after someone's pet. But if you can get to a point where you can look after yourself, then you can go and ask with faith that you can care for yourself and you can responsibly care for someone else's child, someone else's job, someone else's pride and joy. Or at minimum, someone else's plant. So learn to look after yourself. Take your meds. Drink water. Eat. Sleep. Work with conviction. Take on the responsibility and see it through and fight the fight and win the purse.